She loved the beast they feared, a romance born in chains. The village of Thornwick lived in perpetual shadow, not from mountains or forests, but from fear. For 3 generations they had offered tributes to the beast of Blackwood, a creature said to be cursed by ancient magic, neither fully man nor animal, dwelling in the ruins of what was once a magnificent castle. Elena had grown up hearing the stories. Children whispered them at night, tales of glowing amber eyes in the darkness, of inhuman roars that shook the earth, of villagers who ventured too close and were never seen again. The elders spoke of the curse, a prince transformed for his cruelty, condemned to live as a monster until someone could love him despite his appearance, but Elena never quite believed in such simple stories. She was 23 when her father fell gravely ill. The harvest had failed, their debts had mounted, and the village council demanded their tribute, either gold they didn't have, or a member of the family to serve in the beast's castle for 1 year. Her father, weak and feverish, insisted he would go. Her mother wept. Her younger brothers stood silent, fists clenched. Elena made her decision before dawn. She left a note and walked the forbidden path alone, through twisted woods where even birds seemed reluctant to sing. The castle emerged from morning mist like a ghost of former glory, crumbling towers, ivy-choked walls, windows like hollow eyes. The massive iron gates stood open, as if expecting her. "I've come to fulfill my family's obligation," she called. Ed out, her voice steadier than her heartbeat. For a long moment, nothing. Then a shadow moved in the doorway, too large to be human. A voice emerged, deep and rough as grinding stone, yet somehow careful. "You shouldn't have come. Tell them the tribute is not required." "I won't leave," Elena replied, stepping through the gates. "My father is ill. I've come in his place, according to the old Agre." Ement. The shadow shifted, and she caught her first glimpse of him. He stood perhaps 7 feet tall, broad-shouldered and powerful, covered in dark fur that gleamed like midnight water. His face was a terrible fusion of human and wolf, elongated jaw, sharp teeth visible even when his mouth was closed, a black nose, yet eyes that were undeniably human in their expression. Those amber eyes regarded her with something like pain. "You should fear me," he said quietly. "Perhaps," Elena acknowledged, "but I'm here nonetheless." And so it began. The castle was larger than she'd imagined, filled with rooms that spoke of former elegance now surrendering to time. The beast, he never offered another name, gave her the entire east wing for herself. He appeared only at dinner, sitting at the opposite end of a long table barely visible in the candlelight. Those first dinners were silent, awkward affairs. Elena tried to initiate conversation, receiving only brief responses. But she noticed things, the way he gripped his utensils carefully, struggling with hands that were part human, part claw. The way he kept his distance, as if afraid his mere presence might harm her. The loneliness that radiated from him like cold from stone. On the 5th night, she asked, "Were you always like this?" His amber eyes lifted to meet hers. "No, what happened?" A long pause. Then, slowly, the story emerged. He had been Prince Adrian, heir to a prosperous kingdom, spoiled, arrogant, cruel in the casual way of those who've never known consequences. When a beggar woman came to his door seeking shelter during a storm, he had mocked her appearance and sent her away. She was no beggar but a sorceress, and she cursed him, to wear on the outside the ugliness he carried within, until someone could see past the monster and love the man beneath. "How long ago?" Elena asked softly. 15 years. I've stopped counting seasons. And your servants, your family, gone. They couldn't bear to look at me. I don't blame them. His voice carried no self-pity, only a terrible acceptance. The village offerings began because I frightened travelers. I never asked for them, but the fear, I suppose they thought they could appease a monster with goods and service. I've sent everyone away. Until you... Elena set down her fork. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. I'm dangerous. Sometimes the beast mind takes over. And I'm more animal than man. I could hurt you without meaning to. But you won't, she said with certainty. You've had 5 days. You keep your distance even now. Something flickered across his inhuman features, surprise perhaps, or hope quickly suppressed. After that night, things changed. Elena began exploring the castle, finding a library that made her heart sing. She had always loved eating, but books were precious in the village. Here were hundreds: history, poetry, philosophy, stories from distant lands. Adrian, she began thinking of him by his true name, found her there one afternoon, surrounded by stacks of volumes. You like to read, he observed. I love it. In books you can go anywhere, be anyone. Hesitantly he entered the library. What are you reading? She showed a collection of folk tales from across the sea. His face brightened with recognition, and suddenly they were talking, really talking about stories and meanings, and the way different cultures understood the world. His intelligence surprised her, though it shouldn't have. 15 years alone with nothing but books would educate anyone. The dinners became conversations. She learned that he had taught himself music, and would sometimes play a modified piano in the West Wing, keys built larger to accommodate his changed hands. She asked to hear it, and the next evening he played for her. Chopin rendered somewhat clumsily but with genuine feeling. She applauded, and he ducked his head in a gesture that was purely human. I haven't played for anyone in... I can't remember how long, he admitted. You should play more often. Days turned to weeks. Elena discovered the castle's gardens, long overgrown but still holding remnants of careful design. She began working there, clearing weeds, training vines, finding beauty in the wild chaos. Adrian watched from the windows at first, then ventured out to help, his great strength making quick work of heavy stones and stubborn roots, working side by side in the earth. They talked about everything. She told him about her village life, her dreams of seeing the world, her frustration with the narrow thinking of people who feared anything different. He shared memories of his life before the curse, admitting his cruelty with unflinching honesty. I deserved this, he said one afternoon, dirt under his claws. I was a monster in human skin. APS. This is just truth made visible. People can change, Elena replied. You're not who you were. How would you know? You never met Prince Adrian. No, but I know you now. You're kind, thoughtful. You live in this huge castle alone rather than let your presence frighten people. You sent all those tributes away to spare them fear. You helped me with these gardens, even though you could command me to do it alone. That's not a monster, Adrian. That's a good man. He looked at her with those amber eyes, and she saw tears gathering. Don't, he whispered. Don't give me hope. The curse can't be broken. I've accepted that. But Elena had already begun to feel something shifting in her heart. It happened gradually, like seasons changing. The way he laughed at her jokes, a rumbling sound that shook his massive frame. The careful way he handled the books she loved, as if their fragile pages were precious. The sadness in his voice when he spoke of his past, not seeking pity, but accepting responsibility. The gentleness in his monstrous hands when he helped her plant seeds in the garden. One evening she found him on the castle's highest tower, staring out at the moonlit forest. She climbed up to join him. You'll catch cold, he said without turning. So will you? I don't feel it the same way anymore. The fur, I suppose. They stood in silence for a while. Then Elena said, I've been thinking about the curse. His shoulders tensed. Elena, love isn't about appearance, she continued. It's about seeing someone truly, understanding them, valuing who they are inside. Pretty woe. But look at me. He turned to face her fully, and in the moonlight his features were starkly inhuman. The wolf's muzzle, the sharp teeth, the fur and claws. I'm a nightmare, a story to frighten children. Elena stepped closer. I see you, Adrian. Not the curse, not the beast they fear. You and I. She took a breath. I love you. His eyes widened in shock. No, you can't. You're confused. Gratitude with... I'm not confused. She reached up, and he flinched back, but she persisted, placing her hand against his furred cheek. I love your kindness, your intelligence, the way you play Chopin, even though your hands aren't made for it anymore. The way you tend these gardens, because you know it makes me happy. The way you've learned from your mistakes, instead of making excuses. I love you, Adrian. Elena. His voice broke. I'm a monster. You're a man who was cursed, and I love you. She rose on her toes and kissed him, her lips finding his despite the strangeness of his transformed face. For a moment he stood frozen, then his arms came around her carefully, as if she were made of glass. The change began as a glow, gentle at first, then brightening. Adrian stumbled back, cry. Out, and Elena watched in awe as the curse unraveled. Fur receded, bones shifted, his form contracted. The light became blinding, and she shielded her eyes. When it faded, a man knelt on the tower stones. He was tall and lean, with dark hair and those same amber eyes, now set in a human face. He looked up at Elena in wonder, raising hands that were human once more. How? He breathed. True. Love breaks true curses, Elena said, kneeling beside him. That's how these stories work. He laughed, a sound of pure joy, and pulled her into an embrace. I never believed it possible. 15 years, Elena, 15 years in darkness, and you brought light. They held each other as dawn broke over Blackwood, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. The curse was broken, but the question, Rima. Enid. What now? Adrian looked down at her, his human face still learning how to express the emotions that overwhelmed him. You fulfilled your obligation. A year in service. You're free to leave. Return to your family. Is that what you want? I want your happiness. If that means leaving, then... Adrian. She cupped his face, marveling at the smoothness of human skin after months of fur. I didn't fall in love with you because of a curse or an obligation. I love you. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay. His answer was another kiss. This one easier, their human mouths fitting together perfectly. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling. The return to the village was complicated. Thornwick didn't know how to process the news that the beast was gone, that their feared monster had been an accursed prince, that Elena had fallen in love and broken the spell. The elders muttered about sorcery. The children stared wide-eyed. Her family wept with relief and confusion in equal measure. But Adrian approached them with humility, explaining his past, acknowledging the fear he'd caused, and promising to do better. He opened the castle to those in need, sharing his resources with surrounding villages. He asked Elena's father for blessing to marry her, a request granted with bewildered happiness. The wedding took place in the restored gardens, flowers blooming where thorns had once dominated. Elena wore a simple dress, preferring beauty and honesty over elaborate disguise. Adrian wore his finest clothes, though he confessed to Elena that he still sometimes expected to see claws when he looked at his hands. "I spent so long as a beast," he told her on their wedding night. "Part of me fears it wasn't real, that I'll wake up and find this is all a dream." "Then we'll dream together," Elena replied, taking his hand. "Beast or man, cursed or free, I choose you. I'll always choose you." They lived in the castle, but it was no longer a place of shadows and fear. Adrian proved himself a just and generous lord, using his second chance to become the man he'd failed to be in his first life. Elena continued her gardens, expanding them to include a public space where villagers could walk and find peace. Years passed. Children who had grown up fearing the beast of Blackwood told their own children different stories, of a prince who learned humility, of a woman who saw past appearing to the truth beneath, of love that conquered curses. On their 10th anniversary, Elena and Adrian stood in the tower where she had first confessed her love. She was graying slightly at the temples now, laugh lines crinkling around her eyes. He had aged, too, though good food and happiness had filled out his frame. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked, half teasing. "Being feared? Being powerful?" "Ah, Dee." Rion pulled her close, resting his chin on her head. "I was never powerful as a beast. I was trapped, isolated, alone. Now I have you. I have purpose. I have love. That's real power. Spoken like a man who's finally learned his lesson. Spoken like a man who found an extraordinary teacher." Below them, the gardens bloomed in the twilight, and the village of Thornwick glowed with evening lights. No more tributes, no more fear. Just a community learning to look deeper than surfaces, to question their assumptions, to understand that monsters and men are sometimes separated by nothing more than choice. Elena thought about the young woman she'd been, walking alone through dark woods toward an uncertain fate. She'd been brave then, or perhaps just desperate. But bravery and desperation had led her to love, and love had transformed everything. "No regrets?" Adrian asked softly. "Not one," Elena replied. "Though I admit I sometimes wonder what the villagers would think if they knew I kissed you before the curse broke. That I love the beast just as much as I love the man." He laughed, the sound carrying out over their lands. "They'd probably think you were mad. Perhaps I am. Mad with L. Ove. Then we're both mad together." They stood in their tower as stars emerged, two people who had found each other in the darkest circumstances and chosen love anyway. The curse was broken, but the real magic had never been in breaking it. The real magic was in seeing someone truly, understanding them completely, and loving them anyway, not despite their flaws or past or appearance, but because of everything they were and everything they chose to become. In the end, it was never really a story about a beast becoming a man. It was about two people, both trapped in their own ways, both longing for something more, who found freedom in ESE. Other. The chains that bound them weren't made of iron, but of fear, prejudice, loneliness, and despair. And love, true love, had broken them all. The village children would continue to tell the story for generations. She loved the beast they feared, a romance born in chains. But as with all the best stories, the ones who lived it knew that the truth was simpler and more profound than any tale company. Old capture. They simply loved each other. And that, in the end, was magic enough.